What time is it?
Okay, you are all set.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
Yep, have a good night.
You too. All right, let's see. We have me, Lauren, and Michael, so we do have a quorum. Maureen is not sure if she can join or not. She's going to a retirement party that she had to attend, and it may get over in time for her to join us or not. And I haven't heard from Nicole. I sent her an email, but I haven't seen anything back from her. So anyway, we will go forward with who we have. Let's see. All right. So normally our first item. Okay. Well, this is the Open Space Committee meeting of the town of Bridgewater. I'm the chair. My name is Eileen Heine. Members in the meeting room, Zoom room with me are Michael Sylvia and Lauren Webb. And looks like Melissa Raymondetta is a guest. Welcome, Melissa.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Thank you. The meeting is convening at 7:06 p.m. and we do have a quorum. Our first item is approval of the minutes, but I am going to withdraw those for this meeting because I never finished updating them. I realized as I was reading them over after I sent them out to you, I realized the last two items that on old business, chapter 61 properties and Lake Nip development were from October. And they were, so anyway, I will have to redo those and send them out with the meeting minutes for this meeting tonight at another time. All right. Any public comment? Melissa, you're the only one who's eligible. If there's anything not on the agenda that you'd like to speak about.
Nope, nothing this evening.
All right, thank you. So we were just talking about old business. The first item, we were just talking about publicity a bit with Josh, because the last meeting we talked about a possible Facebook page for the Open Space Committee. And Michael, it sounds like you had some conversations with Josh or Michael Dutton. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Okay. I had a conversation with Josh, specifically requesting that we look into the best course of action for managing a Facebook site Facebook page for us to post, information, trail maps if we have them, videos, photos, what have you, on behalf of the Open Space Committee for open space areas, trails, etc. Josh then said that he would talk to Michael Dutton about that and that he would get back to me. I followed up with him closer to this meeting, and he said that he would have more info for that. He would have more info for me soon about that. So we are openly looking to figure out the best course of action for how to go forward with this, whether it's a town managed page or something that is siloed within the OSC individuals, and then that has a main administrator and then whatnot and what have you. So
okay. All right. Lauren, are you still on there?
I am. All
right. So I don't know if this is anything that you might want to work on with Michael, or Michael, I don't know if you want to do it all on your own, but I'm not going to have anything to do with it. I will monitor the meetings where it's discussed, but I don't feel like I know enough about it to even have a good opinion about how it ought to be handled. And I mean, obviously there are logistical issues as to what the town can do for us and with us. The other, as chair of this committee, the one concern I have is just that it's wait, I have to let somebody in here. It's, if we're going to do something, somebody's got to be responsible for it and keep it up, and it's not going to be me. So that's part of what, if you want to do it, Michael, or if you want to work with Lauren and you both share responsibility or whatever, I just think we need to make sure that somebody can actually get it done and that we don't just do it and then there's nobody to keep it current. So that's entirely up to, you, what you think you would want to do. And obviously how you could do it by discussion with Josh and whatever Michael thinks, what would be the most practical and what would be the most informative.
I don't know that I would be just given the timing. I looked at my information from when I first joined the committee, and so my term is up March because it was through 2024. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to stay on the committee after that. So I don't think, it's really been hard since it's been, during the
Right.
pandemic, it was easier when I was home, and it's been hard. I'm actually at work still right now. So.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Lauren. You were so good at getting Michael recruited. Do you have anybody else in mind?
I don't know. I mean, I think if we were to, I'd be happy to sort of be an amplify, if we were to get this going, I'm on, I am on Facebook, and many groups have multiple, I don't know how you'd feel about having an extra administrator, not on the committee, but, many groups have multiple people to sort of post things and repost them to other communities. So would be happy to do something like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's something to keep in mind. So Michael, you can take note of that and yeah.
It should be fairly straightforward for me to manage. I manage a few pages for clients, and they're all managed through the business manager app, which is basically you can select whichever business or page there is, and you can cross post between Facebook and Instagram, and they can share the same name. So it would be pretty easy to receive questions and get answers as we need, and post photos and videos and whatever we need to. We can also potentially reach out to the community and ask them if they have videos or photos from them going on hikes or utilizing open space in a interesting way within town. We can always ask them to share, and we can post those out with credit and stuff like that. So it's a pretty straightforward action, to be completely honest with you.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to add? I think I mentioned this the last time. I haven't done anything. I haven't followed up on it all, but talking to BTV, we could actually get them to do some filming for us. And I know John Hart has expressed some interest in that too. He talked about getting a drone someplace to, get some video of some of the parks. And then Owen has also mentioned that Wildlands you have a photographer that you bring in. Did you say once a year, Owen?
Yeah, it's pretty sporadically, but
okay.
At least once a year.
Yeah, all right. But at any rate, that would be an option for us to at least do Wyman Meadow at some point if we don't have the other options. So, okay, all right. Well, I have a meeting with Michael on the Michael Dutton on the 24th. So I'll go over with this with him. But in the meantime, Michael, if you want to continue talking to Josh or continuing kind of to thrash these issues out, that's fine with me.
Okay.
So yeah, consider it your baby.
Will do. I'll
All
make
right.
us proud.
All right, good. All right, so Nicole, I don't think you heard this part, but we could not approve the minutes because I had two of the paragraphs on there that I had not updated since October. So we will take them up at our next meeting.
Okay.
All right. So that's Facebook. And then John Hart is not here. He called me. He is in Boston he had an issue he had to deal with, and he didn't think he would make it back. And one of the things I wanted to talk with us and with him is who actually is going to be responsible for parks information, because Parks and Rec, of course, I don't know. Does anyone know? Do they have a Facebook page? Nicole, you know, you can look that up really quickly. But yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, their web link has not been very forthcoming or informative, but it seems like parks should have the same sort of information as open space does. And in fact, sometimes I think that parks is really the better place for some of the information about parks as opposed to open space, because we deal with stuff like, you know, like the Lake Nip project or something, or it doesn't really have to do with stuff that the public may be interested in when they want to go take a hike on a Saturday afternoon or something. So I think that's part of the discussion too, is who should be doing what vis-a-vis open space and Parks and Rec. And I know John's very interested in all this, and I know he's eager to get some of the descriptions from the 20-year-old NRTB reports updated. But I know he's overstretched, so I don't know how much of it he's going to be able to do. But I feel like we need some guidance. That's one of the things I wanted to talk to Michael Dutton about, is how how best to coordinate this, and is there anybody really at this point who's sort of in charge of any of this stuff? If not for open space, then for other, press releases, for instance. You know, does a town have a press office? I have no idea. If when we want to make an announcement about Wyman Meadow, for instance, would there be someone who could write a press release for us? And I think that those are some of the bigger issues I'd like to get some feedback from him on. And Nicole, I just mentioned this to Josh too when he was on with us just before you came on, is that you had mentioned the community economic development site that Bob Ruley was posting a lot of information there about his big project. And I looked at that too after you mentioned that, but there looked to me like there wasn't a whole lot of public response there. It was, Bob was posting a lot, but it was hard to see that there was really a lot of activity, because that was the other thing. I think you had suggested that maybe open space could be part of the CED website or Facebook page, whatever. So anyway, just a bunch of different issues, but the one specifically, the issues with John are how we work with Parks and Rec, and who is responsible for getting information out there. They have information, of course, about the sports teams on their site, and I don't know, I assume they don't have a Facebook page, but there's associations, right, Nicole? I mean, aren't there softball associations and stuff that do a lot of that kind of publicity for the teams, the town teams?
Yeah, but they're all just their own organizations. They don't,
Yeah.
I don't believe they report to a central, so there's Bridgewater Little League, Bridgewater Softball, Bridgewater Badgers.
Right.
So it's all, they're all independent. And then other like private teams rent the fields, like AAU club kind of team. So
okay.
there's just, it's just,
Yeah, so it wouldn't make sense for that to be centralized, yeah. Okay. All right, but wouldn't it be nice though, at some point, if we could get, the Friends of Carver Pond and the Friends of Wyman Meadow, who all sort of have their little Facebook page of their own, or just their own little groups that would keep up the postings. And anyway.
yeah.
All right.
I do notice that the West Bridgewater Open Space Committee has a Facebook page, and they definitely organize a lot in terms of like publicizing like their different open spaces, sharing trails, having, publicizing different events. Like sometimes they have farmers markets in some of their at their green, or other places. So that could be a good model for everyone to just take a look at that and see if we could copy some ideas. I think it's just type like West Bridgewater open space or something like that.
Yeah, no, I looked at theirs not too long ago. I think after we had this discussion, and they're really, I was impressed. I was surprised
Yeah.
at how much was on it.
Mm-hmm.
I did meet with the chair of their committee a
Oh,
long time ago when I first got on the open space committee. We met at Carver Pond and walked around and discussed, who was doing what and how we could collaborate, but that was about as far as we got. So, but yeah, that might be a good example, a good place to follow. Although on the other hand, we also need to, wait, I'm just looking to see if somebody else is here. No, we also need to have stuff to post. So,
yep.
yeah, so, okay. All right.
Well, even sharing though, like the work that Lauren has done, like, did you know that, that there's these trails at blah, blah, blah. Here's the map. Here's where you can park.
Yeah.
So it could just be like every month there's we could showcase a new place or something like
Yeah.
that.
Did you say Warren? I'm sorry. Who did you say has done?
Well, I just said the work Lauren did that's on our
Warren.
website.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard Warren and I couldn't figure out what.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, like in other words, just break, sometimes people don't go searching in the website, something
Yeah.
like that would be like, oh, cool, I didn't know we had that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bring my dog there this weekend.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then finally, though, I had under this publicity, I had the Wyman Meadow announcement because we want to do that sometime. But as Owen will probably elaborate on a little bit here, is that, and I think he mentioned this the last time too, he was hesitant to publicize this too much because it's so wet out there. At least now it's frozen, Owen. You must be sleeping a little better. Because it was I don't know if you have that photo, but it's really a mess. I mean, the parking area is totally torn up.
I've got it. And I'll show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. I think I have an email from. Oh, Pat can't get in. Oh, I'm afraid I can't help her. What was I saying? Oh, anyway, but that's another thing I wanted to talk to Michael Dutton about. Like, is there someone on staff who could write a press release for us when we want to open Wyman Meadow? Although, and you would probably do that as well. So,
yeah, maybe we release, like a co-statement.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I think it goes through the town manager's office. I believe we mentioned that in tree committee meetings that, for example, they will be doing a press release once the Arbor Day Tree City Foundation confirms our application that we're a Tree City again. He had mentioned that his office would help take care of the press release. So I think that they have their own Facebook page that they're he has, several staff member assistants and, I think from time to time they even have interns.
That's where I got that idea, Nicole, because I
Yeah.
listened into your the recording of your tree committee meeting.
Yeah.
Where Michael mentioned that they could write a press release. That was what gave me the idea. Like, we'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yep. So I think we could just tell them, could you announce this as a press release? Or maybe they can repost what the Wildlands Trust posts, or share basically.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else on publicity? All right. All right. So let's move on to Wyman Meadow. Owen, you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah. So.
He's going to give us an update. He's got a slideshow.
Yeah, just a little. I just put some pictures together, like half an hour at the end of the day. But I think it'll get. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, you are co-host, so you should be able to.
Yep.
Here we go.
Can you guys see this?
Yep.
All right. So it's not going to let me go full screen, but oh yeah, it is. All right, so we're kind of at this spot where we've had 6 volunteer days out at the preserves where we've spent some more time just our staff doing some more complicated things that we don't need a lot of people for, like building this first bridge you see in that picture. But we've got a 1.3-mile trail finished. I wouldn't say that it is walkable yet because we've got so much to do in terms of water crossings. It is so much wetter than we expected, and luckily we should be in good shape with that. We're gonna have some more work days, probably starting back up in February. So far, I think this is a pretty cool little note here. We've had over 50 different volunteers come out and work on the trail, so it's really we've kind of started a new volunteer initiative at Wildlands based around what we started at with this project called Voluntuesdays. Everybody just comes out once a week and spends a few hours on the trail. It's been really nice.
Yeah. Now that would be a great thing for us to have on a town website or Facebook page or something so that people in the town would know about it.
Yeah, we're trying to get it out to as many folks as we can.
So Owen, I'm curious, when I was out there with you, I don't know, that was what, a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Have we just had so much rain since then, or is it that people just the walking is just making it more permeable?
It's both. So if the rain's been crazy through the fall and this winter, and I think with it was already pretty wet to begin with before anybody ever went out there, but I think with people walking through it more frequently and just these intense rain events we're having. I'm not seeing erosion. I'm seeing standing water, which is easier for us to deal with. We'll just build bog boards, and that'll make it so not only are people's feet not getting wet, but we're not causing erosion by digging up the mud, and it's not a place where there's roots sticking out or large rocks. There's not much holding things in, as far as the soil goes. So, keeping people off that those real wet spots is going to be important. But these are just, this middle picture here is when the trail gets down towards the river. It turns east, and so it's a really pretty spot. And we'll probably look to put a bench in there. And on the right, it's just, it was pretty easy to build this. It was a lot of raking. And it's pretty open as far as understory goes out there. Which is really nice.
You might mention, Owen, that you've been in touch with Bob Ruley about having to go back to Concom about these additional bog boards or bridges or whatever. And
yeah, so I did hear from Bob, and he told me, we're basically all set. We had only officially permitted a couple of bog boards, and we had to put some out just kind of emergency, like we're going to have people here tomorrow. We can't have them walking through this. Let's get a couple bog boards out. So those kind of accumulated over time, and I wrote to him. It's just, we got these out here. We could take them out and apply for permitting. We're going to need to add more anyways. But he said, it's fine. We're good to. They're so low impact. It's really not big deal to a Concom,
Okay.
which is great. It makes them really useful for a lot of different things.
Yep.
But this map here, by the end of this project, a quarter of this trail could have bog boards on it.
Oh my gosh.
So it's a lot, and it's a lot of lumber. And that is partly why last week we submitted a grant proposal to a program. I didn't know really anything about it. Our director of land protection came to me and said, I've got a contact who thinks we should apply. We had a couple of projects a bit bigger in scale that just weren't quite ready to apply. So North Fork and Wyman Meadow is, in need of some money. So we were like, hey, well, why not? And it's a program run by the National Park Service, and it funds projects on wild and scenic rivers and tributaries. The other two projects we had in mind were on tributaries of the Taunton River. This project being on the main stem of the Taunton River will give it some serious points when they're reviewing this. So really like our chances of getting funding. We requested $10,000, and below the bottom bullet kind of lists what we've applied for. I think we have plenty of labor. Our staff and volunteers are able to provide that. But when it comes to trail infrastructure beyond regular basic carpentry, we need some money. So here's kind of examples of what we have. This is at our Hoyt Hall Preserve in Marshfield, and this is I would say this is probably one of the busiest places on all of the South Shore for a hiking trail. And on the right is a kiosk panel, which it's thin metal. It's tamper proof, so graffiti wipes right off. It's really nice. And then same thing on the left is an interpretive panel, which with where the money would be coming from, I think it would be really cool to have at least, we applied for 4 panels, have at least a couple of them giving information about the river and the ecosystem that people are walking in. So this, we could post, we can work on material because what's really nice is we already have a kiosk at Wyman Meadow.
Yep.
Still in pretty good shape, so.
Yeah, good. All right, and then you want to show us there we go. Right.
Yes,
The
here we are.
show.
So
is that partly hunters going out now too? Is it?
Yeah, it's hunters. It's us when we're out for our projects.
Right.
It's I don't know if water department trucks are turning around in there, but I think it was this. I'm glad we saw this now before we opened this up, thinking, oh, it'll be fine. It's grass, and then we start getting calls. People are stuck, and
oh, you are.
No, that's probably what would happen.
Oh, before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So yeah, I think what's great about I don't know who exactly it's going to be, DPW or Parks, but what's great about them doing this repair is that it will count as match towards the grant funds if we receive them. So we have no capital match to put in. You need 1-to-1 match.
Right.
So that's a big chunk of that 10,000, and the rest is just volunteer and staff hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, the other thing that's good about DPW or Parks, is both Bob Ruley and Michael Dutton were both very amenable, just said, oh yeah, you know, they'll just call them. And John Hart said that Jim Small, Director of Parks and Rec, was very amenable to it also. So it's just, I'm just glad to see them taking ownership of it, because I mean, once they do it once, well, then I'm hoping that then they become the stewards of that particular effort, you know, that they'll keep the parking lot in shape. They'll bring the gravel out when we need it.
yeah,
So, you know, I hope that's how it moves forward, but I think this is a good start that they're willing to do it.
yeah, yeah. And that's all I've got. But
Okay.
if anybody has any questions or
So when do we find out about that, the National Park Service grant? When do you find out if you were successful, Owen?
I think April.
Okay,
And there's probably at least a 2-month turnaround on, you know, us deciding on material for those, all the panels,
yeah, okay.
and getting them printed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and of course, we're gonna have to work on that, and I don't know, again, we're still in the same position of, I guess, Wyman Meadow has been ahead of like Stiles and Hart and the what's the one down, that Kitty Doherty's working on?
the old State Farm.
Yeah, the old State Farm ones, but I mean, we're getting delayed on Wyman now too, so who knows whether we'll get our design and information up and ready to go before the others will, because we've got that issue of who's going to coordinate a similar style, you know, in a certain, a logo for Bridgewater, and in this case to be used with Wildlands, and just, is there going to be some continuity of style and content, and
Yeah.
yeah. All right, which makes me remember, Michael, did you send your Christmas greeting out to everybody on this committee?
I don't think I did, no.
No, okay. Well, why don't you, do you have that little thing you did for the Bridgewater Parks? Do you want to show us that? Can you pull that up?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me one sec.
Yeah, and is that something, I mean, you've shared that with some people in the town already, right?
I did share that with Bob. I emailed him. We did not talk after that. So
Okay.
I think it was kind of like he said, I like what I see.
Yeah.
And we kind of just left it at that. But I will show you really quickly.
Yeah. He's
Let
got
me
his
just share my
plate
screen.
full with.
Oh, I need access to share.
Oh, okay. Where are we? Let's see. Okay, your co-host.
Cool, cool. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So the idea was to actually come up with a design that would be universally used throughout the parks and trails, and it closely mimics the national park style, but obviously is not the national park style. And we have the different levels of terrain, which are obviously water, land,
Nice.
trees, and then sky. So having that in there, and then just built some base colors, earth tone, secondary colors, neutrals for backgrounds. The big idea too was using creating a QR code system based off of the really great work that the Bridgewater State class that presented a while ago. They were talking about how they were mapping using QR codes for specific locations through what could be potentially a system, and it would utilize that. Just did some kind of mock-ups of what it could look like. giving a little bit of history, I use Styles and Hart kind of as a jumping off point. This could be an example of something that's posted in like an 8.5 by 11 size inside one of the like at the trailhead that has some information about it. You could actually scan if you wanted to. Could be printed on some waterproof paper or something like that, so that it doesn't fade or, you know, dull or anything like that. Gives you location markers, etc. And then there's a spot about, you know, do's and don'ts. This could be like a larger format version that has, you know, do's and don'ts. Don't leave trace, don't trash or litter, don't feed wildlife. You do have to leash animals, do stay on the marked trail, don't vandalize. Typical things that you would see if in a trail area. And if there is ever any points for funding or anything like that, we could include funding provided by and whoever it is. And I know that if I remember correctly or I heard correctly, this could have just been for presentation only, which is also considered FPO. It could be, I think I put here the National Parks Service. I think I'd correct me if I'm wrong. There's partial like a grant or something like that that was given to for the Styles and Hart area. So
yeah, okay, yeah.
So that's basically it.
Okay, yeah, I thought that had a really nice look. So do you have any thoughts about what would be the next step on this to find out if the town is interested in continuing to work with you on it? Or do they have somebody doing this sort of thing on their own? Or is there going to be a consultant? Well, no, I know there's not going to be a consultant for Styles and Hart, because I asked at that Styles and Hart meeting I went to, and they said, no, they didn't have any money for that.
The last I heard was that, and this was a couple of months ago, so the details are a little foggy for me, but I might get them wrong, but we can follow up after. The last that I remember was there were additional people in the town who wanted to get involved in the process and figuring this out, and it kind of was put on pause. I talked to Bob. He said that he believes there was a committee that was drafted around this, or not specifically around this, but I can't remember exactly what it was for, but he said that that would be a talking point, and then when the time came up that we would be notified, or I would be notified, and we could jump into the process.
Okay.
Or that maybe.
All right. Great, thank you. Good work.
But definitely worth following up with him about it, I think.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I just had another, there was something I was just gonna say, but I can't remember what it was. Okay, well, anyway, so I guess, so what I had on the agenda was a possible grant through the Recreational Trails Program that Owen and I were talking about, but that is actually not going to happen now. That's why he was talking about the NPS grant, which was only a Wildlands Trust application. I mean, the Recreational Trails Program we were talking about doing as a joint grant application from the town and Wildlands Trust. But as it is, Owen, what one you're doing one for what other project?
We have a RTP grant open right now at a preserve for an accessible
Okay, one you already have. Yeah,
ton.
okay.
And we're going in on one as a partner with the Nature Conservancy for a spot in Norwell.
Okay, and then Kitty Doherty is, in fact, that's on the agenda also. She's asked me to get a letter from the Open Space Committee, because for the old town, I cannot remember the name of that place, the town. What's the name of that grant?
Old State Farm.
Old State Farm. I can't keep that in my head. That she's submitting a grant application for the Recreational Trails Program for that, and then also the Senior Center in Bridgewater is putting one together. They're trying to put a trail around the Senior Center campus that's going to be all ADA accessible, and it's going to go like behind the pickleballs and near the trail that's behind the school, I mean, near the field that's behind the school, and then there's a wooded area where an Eagle Scout did a trail years ago that's been totally abandoned at this point. Anyway, so Owen's boss, Scott McFadden, who does a lot of this grant work, thought it was not a good idea to submit a third one with them as a joint applicant. So we didn't.
But maybe next year, if
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
an opening,
Yeah.
it'd be great. If
It's a February
start
1st.
utilizing more of
Yeah.
Wyman Meadow for trail, and that's they just upped the funding to up to 100,000.
Yeah, that's what Kitty Doherty's applying for, is 100.
Yeah. And
Yeah, and John
they'll
Hart
need
has
that for
this.
Wyman. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Owen, I interrupted you. What?
You'll need that for you could be put toward boardwalks at Wyman
Right.
Meadow, which is going to be pretty crucial there.
Yeah, yeah. And then also John Hart has expressed interest in trying to open up some trails on the town side of the Wyman property as well, like, more on the water department land even if possible. So that I'm sure we could use it for that. All right. The third item under Wyman Meadow is hunting. So at our last meeting, we talked about this, and as far as the town goes, I had no idea what our rules are, where you can hunt in town and where you can't. And I asked John Hart to look into it, and he did, and he can't find anybody who knows. So I was hoping he might be able to give us an update tonight, but he's not here. So at the time when I talked with him, he said the Parks and Rec people had no idea, and so he went to the chief of police, and the chief of police said he didn't really have any idea either. So somebody was supposed to be trying to really look up what rules apply and whether the town has any policies or whatever. So I don't know what progress is made on that as far as the town goes. But Owen, you and I had a conversation this afternoon about Wildlands
Yeah,
Trust
we
decision.
just decided we're not going to open North Fork up to hunting.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a little too cramped in there.
Yep.
And just adds another layer to the management.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really not, 1.3.
I think we'll already have our hands
You
full.
know, it's really not that big. And having already had the experience on one of your work days there with a hunter in the river, not far from where you all were working.
Yeah, I'm amazed how many people do hunt out there.
Yeah.
I think I told you that big truck with, I don't know, 5 or 6 people in the back of it all rolled up when I was leaving one day. They're just riding in the back of the truck with shotguns. It's like, what's up, guys? Yeah.
Oh, geez.
But
Wow.
they walked down past the water department gate.
Okay. I guess that's it on Wyman Meadow. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, and I just today found out that we did the Community Economic Development did pick up some of the expenses for some of the trail work, some of the wood that's been needed that Wildlands Trust has paid for, most of it on its own with their volunteers, but Community and Economic Development did pick it up, and Nicole's salvo in that office told me that the check is almost in the mail to Wildlands. So that was good. That it took a while, but it went through. All right, Nicole, go ahead, Owen. What?
I was just saying thank you for that.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Nicole, you want to make a tree committee meeting report?
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot on the tree committee's actually made a lot of progress in the past year. I think the one benefit is that there's actually money. We actually have money that has been acquired through mitigation funds from various developers. And so the point of that is for the tree committee to be able to allocate those funds to, replenish our tree canopy in the town, sorry. So I just wanted to actually tonight too make a plug to this group. If anyone is aware of a town-owned space ideally town-owned property, where we would like to request a tree be planted, I can bring that forward to the tree committee. Again, we have a budget. We are currently trying to look for places to plant trees. For example, the senior center did, come to us with a request, and that is being fulfilled. I know a lot of the spaces we've been talking about are, naturalized spaces. So, I don't quite think some of them would necessarily need more trees. But that said, around kiosks, around picnic tables, those could potentially be a good candidate for a tree to provide some shading. Or like if that parking lot is, redone, so I think if everyone could kind of put their thinking caps on, and if you have a suggestion and you like to bring it to me, I can bring it forward to the tree committee. Other than that, we successfully completed all of the requirements to once again have the town be considered a tree city. So that is all the paperwork is in, and we're just waiting for the final approval. And it's been many years. It's been like almost 20 years actually since we had put in the paperwork for being, the Tree City USA, even though some of those signs are still up. Technically, we're not. We have to apply every year. That said, though, we will now have some access to more grants once we are allocated. So, I will kind of keep an eye on what those are, and maybe if there's anything I could bring forward, that may benefit this group as well, I'll let us know. And then finally, really just, there's still some work being done on updating our tree ordinance, which currently only covers the protection of publicly owned trees. So trees within the right of way, trees at our parks and schools, and any other property that's town owned. The committee has been pushing hard to do some research and try to bring forward some ideas to accompany that with potentially some, expanding the ordinance to private trees, probably not every single person's backyard kind of thing, but, particularly with some of these developments that are just clear cutting acres and acres and acres, everyone on the committee is extremely concerned about that. So that is, constantly something that we talk about. I think that's the update really, but I think where we can all kind of come, I think, I know the open space committee doesn't really necessarily have a budget. So, this could be a way, especially on the tree front, if there's anything, anything we think we can, any town-owned spaces we think could benefit from a new tree, that probably could happen. That possibly could happen.
Yeah. I was just somewhere last week, I don't remember, but probably a little longer ago than that. And I thought, oh, well, that would be a good place, but I didn't write it down. So I need to take a photo.
Write it down.
See a place, take a photo. And then,
Yeah.
I actually have a
Michael had
good suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was actually walking in Mount Prospect Cemetery. I know, creepy, but I was gonna say directly across from that on Mount Prospect Street in the middle school.
Yeah.
Across from there, I feel like there's some tree cover over there, but I think you could very easily plant some trees along that side of the road, like the opposite side of the road. Kind of, I think there's like a big open area right near the parking lot.
Yeah.
You could definitely plant some trees
And
there.
people use that for parking, but yes, maybe the strip will, there's not enough parking. So at pickup time, that whole area, it's that whole grass area, people are just driving on it, parking on it. It's kind of insane. But I agree, because when you're coming down Mount Prospect, there's a beautiful, you see the trees and there's a canopy on the one side, but then it's just this, desert on the other side. And that would be, kind of nice. See where there's two trees there. I don't even know if those still exist.
Right. Yeah. This might be a little out of date, but I saw
Yeah.
this when I was walking because I was standing up here because this has like a really good grade change.
It does.
Oh,
And
it
it's
is.
nice to walk through.
It's the only place in Bridgewater with a hill.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed that this was all
This is
open and this
bare,
was all
yeah.
open. I could actually like see like into you could actually see like the top of the school and stuff like that. But over here, I noticed that it was blocked out. So
Yeah.
I was looking around that area. I was like, this is a really good opportunity right here.
Yeah, that
So
would be
people
nice.
actually park in this area here?
Oh yeah, see how it's all mud? Well, no,
Yeah,
not where those
really.
trees
Oh,
are,
goodness.
but from there over. Oh yeah, that whole area. I mean, I make my kids take the bus, but the few times I've been there, I'm like, what? This is insanity. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and there's just lots of area. I noticed that, you know, along, and obviously this football fields, baseball fields, that's a chain link fence. But I did notice that when I was walking, I was like, every other part of this road has a really
That's right,
decent
canopy.
canopy where there's town owned
Yeah.
land, and it was just along there. I thought it was a little sparse. So
Thank you. I will definitely bring that forward. I think that's a great idea. And we talked too about moving into more of the downtown area. You know, there's definitely like missing teeth, I guess you could call them, places where you can see that there's the grass, the dirt, basically where there was a tree that has, you know, come down in various storms. So, you know, we also talked about that, but I have been urging them to try to coordinate the planting of trees in the sidewalks with, you know, repair projects. Because when
Yep.
they just try to, you know, shove them in that little, you know,
Oh,
square, that is not the proper way technically to grow a street tree. They need, you know, soil under the sidewalk. They need, you know, the proper amount of soil volume if they're really going to thrive. So if there's any sidewalk restoration projects going on, you know, I had suggested to the tree committee and to DPW that they do it, you know, do it then, make sure that they're getting the, you know, the proper installation techniques. And the only way you can do that is by ripping up the sidewalk.
Has there been any discussions with homeowners who were on streets? So I'm on Union Street and my neighbors both had huge mature trees that came down in storms that were like right on the other side of the sidewalk. And so I have no idea if that's like technically like land that the town can use or if it's their sort of personal property. But I mean, our street went from having a canopy to like none in
Yeah.
like one summer. So has there been any discussions about like that type of land, or is it just all like purely public owned land?
I'm happy to bring it up because I agree there's private trees that are serving as canopy that are, you know, part of what we're talking about. We need to, you know, protect. And obviously
Yeah.
that was just Mother Nature and age, but we have,
yeah. Well, what I was going to say too is like the sort of lore among my neighbors is that those were trees that were originally planted by the town like 80 years ago and, you know, with age have come down. So like they
Yeah.
weren't originally like, you know, they were planted by the town a long time ago.
Well, and
Yeah.
also it's strange. It's like you'd almost have to go back through all these old records and stuff, but sometimes the right of way line
Right.
is further than you think because
Exactly.
like what they even did on Auburn Street, for example, you know, when they actually staked out the right of way when they were doing the development off of Curve Street, it appeared that it was like in people's yards, but it actually wasn't. That's the, you know, basically they could technically widen Auburn
Mhm.
Street or put sidewalks and they have, you know, that room. So you're probably right. That really could be, those actually could be a street tree, even though the perception is they look like they're in someone's
Right. Yeah,
yard.
exactly.
Right.
We could bring those forward too, because, you know, I think we definitely have, you know, something that when I think about Bridgewater and I think about some of our kind of rural roots, you know, we're losing that canopy along Auburn, along, you know, Union, all these different streets. I think it's, you know, very important. And maybe, I don't know if there's any liability or if they need to figure out where the line is, but I don't know. I'll bring
Yeah,
that forward too.
You know, I mean, and one of the things that seems to happen, I mean, it needs to be strategic because so many trees are coming down
Yeah.
because of the power lines. You know, I mean, the power company comes through or they've got those terrible cutouts, you know, that just look
Yeah.
so crappy after a certain number of trimmings. But that anything that's planted, if it's, you know, like you can go down one side of the street where there isn't a power line and really focus on that and when you know you're not going to be able to grow any size good trees on the where the power lines are, or they're going to look like
Yeah.
they're going to look really bad because they're going to be so severely trimmed. So, and also just, bringing up Lauren's idea, I mean, maybe even some kind of a plan to look at where trees are where there's severe storm damage, if there are areas like a street or something where it gets wiped out, like those really were gorgeous trees on your street, Lauren, and that that there's some money that comes out of the tree committee budget to replace some of those big storm damaged trees. Like there were a lot that were damaged right in the center of town, not this year, but 2 years ago, that beautiful row of, I don't even know what they are on 106, those trees that flower in the spring, they're all kind of uniform. And that's where there's some of those teeth missing now.
Yes, yeah,
Because a number of
absolutely.
those came down, yeah.
Another one of the near-term goals for tree committee is to do a tree inventory, and that will help because there would be, at least some assessment of diameter, health. Obviously they typically would pick up those missing, teeth. So it, at least gets some things on a map to the best, as much as possible.
Right.
I mean, some towns that are very heavily funded will do major studies, look at canopy, look at heat island, look at a lot. I doubt it'll be that well funded, but at least we'll have somewhere to start.
Yeah. The other thing, I think I might have mentioned this before once, is the cemetery right at the corner of Summer and right near CVS. Yeah, I mean, that's such a historic part of Bridgewater. It's the first cemetery, all those old gravestones and stuff. And some of the trees, well, a lot of them have come down in recent years since I've lived here, but what's left, a lot of them are just really crappy. And particularly if we're going to have a nice park of some sort where the gas station is now, which the town is going to be doing something significant there, it'd be nice to work on the cemetery right across the street at the same time and improve people's view from the park. If you can manage to get a glimpse without a truck between you and whatever else is on the other side of that street. Trucks there are really wicked. But all right. Well, thank you, Nicole. Chapter 61 properties. Michael, I know in my minutes from last time I said that you weren't here, so we didn't have a report, but I don't know that. I'm not sure what you would have been. I don't think you would have been reporting on anything anyways, I recall. And I don't remember if I've told you this. It was in the minutes. That's when I realized that I had I forgot to update the minutes last time, because at the last meeting I did report that I had talked with Tricia Cassidy, who is the conservation agent for the Middleborough Conservation Commission, because they have acquired and are preserving a huge parcel right down at the end of South Street on the Middleborough line. And
I think I remember you telling me something about this.
Okay, did I send you the map? Because Tricia had sent me a map, and I can't figure out from what she sent exactly how it tracks with the Bridgewater properties. I don't know how to do an overlay from what she sent but there's that, and I talked to her about my idea, like, let's sit down with somebody from Middleborough and maybe Wildlands Trust even. Oh, we lost Owen. That's understandable. And figure out if there's something we could do, something we could set our sights on down in that whole area, in addition to the work that you and Lauren did on addressing the ones that were significant. The one that you were looking at looks to be the most significant, and that's such an important parcel. That whole area down there is so important to the Taunton, and there is still quite a lot of open space. But I don't feel like I have the ability to go into those map systems and figure out what I'm looking at and what might be feasible and who's the owner and all that. And Scott McFadden from Wildlands Trust sent me a map too of the Bertarelli property. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. There's another parcel of land. Anyhow, that's my plan. That's my hope, is that we'll get to actually start thinking about this. And so we'll see. The ball's in my court, I guess, to get something organized, and I will try to do that one of these days.
Yeah,
Alright.
let me know, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy to assist when I can.
Yeah, okay. All right, Lake Nip project update. So Pat told us at our last meeting that the MIPA people had made their decision that the project can go forward with a number of conditions. And the planning board had their meeting sometime, I don't know just when, but they also allowed them, have approved the project, but with a number of conditions, but they haven't written their decision yet. So we don't know exactly what they're imposing. Pat or Melissa, do you want to add anything to that? I mean, you were both on the call, on the Zoom call. Did you get a sense of, were they voting on specific conditions, or were they just, I know they voted to approve the project, but did they take a vote on specific conditions, like the 200-foot buffer versus the 50, for instance, or do you recall?
They spent a lot of time on the 200-foot landscape buffer, and I think was it 85 feet, Pat, or 80 feet, I think was the
Yeah, I think it's 85.
compromise.
Oh, is that where they ended up? Okay.
Yeah, there was also, in prior meetings, there was some talk about a tree cutting plan and preservation plan, and it wasn't clear from the last meeting how they were gonna move ahead with that. I believe the building is still gonna be 5 stories tall. So it's not really clear, and I think until we see the written decision, we won't really know.
Yeah.
Because they didn't go through every condition, it was mostly
didn't,
talking about the
okay, yeah.
200-foot, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right, that's, I wasn't sure of, okay. All right, so to be continued. And of course, what Bob Ruley had said was that until the planning board decision was final, there would be nothing going to Concom. But it is on the schedule for Concom, and it's a January 25th, is that the right date?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Nicole, I hope you have that on your calendar. Yeah, at least put it on so there's a chance that you might be able to.
Yeah,
show up
no,
and-
I'll try for sure. I
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to look at the, yeah, I should try to see if I can request the copy of the stormwater, calculations in the plans
Yeah.
and try to look through that again if I can
Yeah.
before that.
Well, yeah, they're all on the planning board.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Document site,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right.
yeah. And I mean, it would be nice to know, well, presumably Concom will not hear this until the decision is issued. At least has seemed to be Bob Ruley's position all along. So
Yeah,
if they're delayed further, then maybe it won't even come up on the 25th. But
Yeah.
and presumably it will be a hearing that will be opened and not closed. Can we assume that, or is that Melissa, Pat?
Meaning the Concom?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna open the public hearing at some point. Haven't seen the agenda yet, and so waiting to see
Okay.
that, which hopefully that'll come out soon, and
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
I mean, I guess I was hopeful that the conditions of the planning board would include, some, asking them to look into more, updated, stormwater
Yeah,
approaches, like, ecological stormwater management, green infrastructure, all the things that everyone is doing. But, this is a very traditional
yeah,
proposal that has been put forward that does, I think we kind of wrote that into our letter, does not match and support the character and sensitivity of that watershed. So I think like in just general, all those comments we should bring them forward again to Concom, the ones that we pulled together for planning board. I think that's more productive than picking at little calculations that could be done
yeah,
differently and all of that. I think it's just like, there's a big picture situation that, I think needs comments from our, you know.
Yeah, they did, like the one thing that there was extensive, well, not extensive, there was discussion about permeable pavement.
Yes,
Right.
And one of the comments that Larry Silva made was that in fact, permeable pavement, I mean, he read from something, is not recommended in areas next to sensitive areas because it's too permeable. I guess.
Aquifer,
Yeah, that it would.
the
it would-
aquifer.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, because Greg, what's his name, Tinsley? What's his?
Tinsley.
Tinsley?
Yeah, the Public Works director. Yeah, he mentioned it, after we had that meeting with him, Nicole, we met with Bob and Greg, yeah, is to recommend some of the things that Nicole had put in her letter. And Greg was not opposed to them, and neither was Bob, but not a whole lot came out of it. Greg did raise the issue at one of the planning board that we should be looking at permeable pavement, and then Larry Silver came back at the next meeting and said, oh, no, we've got this guidance here that says that's not feasible. It's not even recommended. And then, of course, all of this, the business about the trees, we went around and around and around on, and yeah, what came out of that is really, it's sort of these very vague agreements that, yes, we're going to have somebody come in and do a plan of what trees can be cut. But if there's no enforcement of that, and there's nobody there with them when they're doing it, and once this gets off of the planning board's agenda, I mean, I doubt very much that anybody's going to be tracking how many trees they've cut down or planted or anything else, but.
yeah, well, that's interesting. I would like to confirm, in Mass DEP, in the Wetlands Protection Act, whether or not these, I don't, I am not aware, I don't know where the aquifer protection lines are, or, wherever the different types of soils are. There's definitely guidance by DEP. And I would think that they should take, that's the rules that we are following. So I would be curious to know if the guidance document was from Mass DEP or just another. I mean, whatever, there is, regardless, maybe if porous pavement isn't the right, strategy, I think that they needed to put other things on the table rather than cutting down more trees
Right.
to manage stormwater for sprawling impervious areas. Then maybe they need a parking deck or just a simple deck.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying this is a planning board issue, because the more impervious sprawl, the more stormwater and the more trees they're going to cut down. So, the planning board is allowing the sprawl,
Right.
and therefore then Conservation Commission will have, as long as they can fit it within the rules, then they're
Yeah.
going to somehow find a way to cut all
Yeah.
those trees just to manage
Mhm.
stormwater, which seems it's so environmentally backwards,
Yeah.
from what we should be doing in 2024.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked,
Yeah,
but
I know, it really was very discouraging how little they
Yeah.
were willing to.
yeah, I'll
So
try to
bad.
help. I'll try to help and bring up some of these if I can next Thursday.
So
Okay.
that would be
If
valuable.
not, they'll
valuable.
continue to be continued, I'm sure, so we can
Yeah.
maybe, Eileen, maybe we should work on not, obviously it won't be ready in time for next hearing, but maybe we should get an open space committee letter again
Yeah.
together for it.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, probably just submit the one we submitted to the planning board.
Oh,
with
yeah.
some- with
For
some
now,
tweaks.
for now, and then we can update it based on when I have a chance to review
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. And Pat or Melissa, would you send to Nicole that document that what's her name, the person at Lake Nipanicket Action Text for Jean.
Oh,
Yeah, what's her last name? Batista.
right.
Yeah,
But yeah,
could you send that to Nicole?
sure. Be glad to.
Right, excuse me. Yeah, all right. So I think you got that right. Who's done? All right. All right, so that was the last item. There was the OSC comments to the Conservation Committee. And, I'd encourage Michael or Lauren. Well, Lauren, Lauren's getting off of this committee. She's informed us when her term is up, so you probably wouldn't want to bother. Michael, you might find this interesting, you know, if you want to look on the Conservation Commission, the town meetings, and just hear the discussion about how they approach this and what some of the issues are. So, and it's good to have another body there. You know, it's always good to show that there are other people from other committees and other people in town other than the homeowners in the area. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay. All right, and then the new business. I meant to put this on the agenda and I forgot. We already have talked about the Old State Farm Trail a number of times, and we submitted a letter in support of that for a particular grant. I don't remember which grant it was. Kitty Doherty requested it in 2022, and she's asked for another one now for another $100,000 grant that they're asking for, what they're calling stage 4. I don't know exactly what it entails versus what the earlier part was. Oh gosh. I've had this. Oh, excuse me. So, what was I saying? Oh, so anyway, she wants a new letter. So I just want I just want you to know that I'm planning on sending a letter, and I don't think we need to take a vote. We voted in favor of this project before and supporting it. So it'll just be, yes, phase 4 sounds good. And the application's due February 1st. So I need to get the letter to Kitty next week. So does anybody have any questions about that or want to see more about it or no? Okay. That's going to be a great trail out there too. All right. All right. So the last thing, please take a look at the meeting date. I am proposing a change of meeting for next month. I am going to be out of the country on the 3rd Thursday. So I'm proposing to change the meeting to the 4th Thursday, which is February 22nd. Take a look and see if that.
That works for me.
Okay. Michael, you good with that?
I'm checking now. Give me one sec.
Okay.
February 22nd.
Nicole, did you notice you got an invite for this meeting?
No,
You did.
let me
I
see.
asked Josh after the last one to send an invite, and he did. I mean, I got it. I assume everybody got it.
I got it too. And yes, I'm available. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. Anyway.
Oh, I did. I didn't even bother to go in there because I know that it's never there.
Uh-oh. All right.
Yeah, I should be available the 22nd. It is
Okay.
February vacation
Oh,
week, but I don't, we haven't firmed anything up yet.
yeah. Okay. All right.
There is a
Okay.
chance I may be skiing. I will let you know ASAP.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep you busy before then with Concom maybe. So when Concom meets, when is it the 3rd? When the 3rd or 4th? I don't know. I don't know what their regular scheduled date is, but
Third Thursday of the month, and I think they're moving to 5:30 p.m.
oh.
Is it
Wow.
5:30, Pat, for Concom?
They voted on that last week, but I
Okay.
haven't seen the change of time on their agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know what's happening with their agenda.
All right. And then one last item that I should have added on the agenda, and this one is a little bit important. So I probably shouldn't have saved it last, but anyway, there was a meeting about Hanson Farms recently. With just internally, Michael and the Community Preservation Committee people and Bob Ruley and one other person who I can't remember right now. But one of the things they're going to be looking at is as I had reported on the previous meeting, this is moving ahead according to schedule. The town has its appraisal done and Hanson's have theirs, so it's happening. But one of the issues will be, and this came up when we first went out to Hanson Farms 2.5 years ago to kind of look at the place, and is whether we would want trails there or some other public use. One of the questions we hashed out a little bit at this meeting is there is no requirement for public access on the property because of an conservation restriction. I know you've raised this issue before with regard to the Murray Needs property, Pat. I mean, there actually is a trail on Murray Needs, but it's not very well maintained and nobody uses it because there's no parking. So it's not required that we have public access to the Hanson Farm. And it raises some questions about whether it's even a good idea. You know, do you want people walking on farm property? Is it going to detract from their ability to farm to every area? Some of the other suggestions that came up were at this meeting were, you know, maybe a site for a community garden there, or possibly some trail in the back where the wooded area is. But it's not required. And so what Michael asked is that we think about whether we think we should have some public access as opposed to public benefit. The benefit is, you know, it's preserving the scenery, it's preserving open space, it's preserving the view, it's keeping it from being developed and all the hazards, environmental hazards that go with that. So it clearly has a public benefit. But what more do we think should be required, or at least requested? Because this would have to be negotiated with the Hansons. So this is not anything that's a given. It wouldn't necessarily be a condition of the deal, but be something that would be negotiated. Like what Bob Hanson had actually mentioned, a perimeter trail possibly going around, which would go along the subdivision and back in off of South Drive, and they have a wooded area in back. So it could be quite nice. But I mean, my personal feeling is let them farm it. That's just my view, is that's its highest and best use as open space. And things like a community garden or, you know, educational activities out there or something, those are all good, but you need somebody to coordinate them. I mean, we had a community garden in Bridgewater, and it went defunct a number of years ago because the BSU professor who was doing it was just too much. You know, who was going to coordinate something like that? And we know how the town has been in terms of not having enough staff, excuse me, even for our parks. Anyway, I'm going to shut up because I'm losing my voice. So anybody else? Ideas? What do you think?
I think it's up to the Hansons, really. I mean, if they want people walking on that land, you know, it would be what they desire. Of course, I'm not on your committee. I'm just throwing that out there.
Nicole, Lauren, Michael, speak, please. I need to go back to Michael with something when I meet with him. And I don't want it to be just my point of view, so.
I think that there's a good opportunity for a portion of it to put in a small walking trail connecting the end of South Drive to Prospect. No, sorry, not Prospect. To, I forgot what road it is. There's like a small slip like a small like walking trail where you could actually walk back into the back part of the development off of South Drive. I know that there's like a really short area.
Great idea, because you could walk to the ice cream stand.
Yes, exactly. So
Right.
it could bring them actual business as well.
Yeah, that whole South Drive area could you could walk.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I agree that there should be some sort of, like, I feel like I've been in some farming type place, you know, like agricultural type places around here where they have a trail that's sort of on the perimeter. You know, you're not going into their land, and you know, it's just a place where people can walk, and if it connects to ice cream, even better.
Yeah, do you mind if I share my screen quick so I can be
Okay.
pretty clear? about where it is. Yeah, I was trying to remember what it was. It was where Oak Ridge and Forest terminate.
Oh, right,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah,
small,
there's a little
there's-
fence right there now. You can get right through there. Yep,
yeah, that's his entrance
yep,
to loop around, I believe.
Yeah.
So even like a small trail that went something like that or cut straight through, basically had the opportunity to either connect to this area over here or the, you know, a actual portion of Pleasant Street. That was
Yeah.
the one I was thinking. I was saying Prospect and then Pleasant.
yeah, Pleasant, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, and it wouldn't necessarily be the whole perimeter, but just like, I'm convinced I like that idea already, just because it gives that neighborhood a place to walk.
Honestly, it could actually follow the same track that
Right, yeah, that they have, yeah,
they use.
yeah, because they drive their tractors through there all the time.
Yeah, I see them coming up and down the street all the time. So
All right, that's good. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I want to think about it a little bit more, but I think there is potentially something to be said about, you know, we are losing so much agriculture, you know, that little by little to, you know, be able to save some and invite people to see it and learn about it is potentially something I think that we would want to encourage. I mean, I think that this is I don't know if anyone's ever visited the Soul Homestead in Middleborough, but it is an amazing, amazing, amazing place, where they have, you know, kind of used, you know, they're basically inviting the public to almost help, you know, save the agriculture that they have there. They have trails, they have an education center. I mean, that is, you know, taking this to a very high level, but I think, you know, even some mini version or, you know, maybe giving it as an example of something that could be in the future.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't think there's any real farming on the Soul property itself. I mean, it's somebody leases that land in the back.
They have the
Yeah.
sheep though, they have the community, they have
Yeah.
a community garden that's very popular, very
Yeah,
popular.
yeah.
All
Is it a
those,
community garden? Is it a
yeah,
community garden?
it is a community garden, so you can, you know, have a
Yeah.
thing, they do education, they do, yeah, they do a lot, so.
They have a lot of stuff out there, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, it's more of a community center really than a farm in many respects, I think, but that would be a model, yeah, that kind of educational, some sort of, I like.
These places seem to be very, very popular. I mean, they just restored one in Easton over across from Stonehill.
Oh, right.
And it is gorgeous. They have
Yep.
lights strung and picnic tables, and they, you know, have food trucks come, and it's a very nice, they've just done a very nice job. But, you know, they do a lot of the pick your own flowers, pick your own pumpkins, pick
Yeah.
your own this and that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like those places are getting very popular, just maybe because we are losing so many farms that it's almost like going to the zoo. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I
so-
know another idea that somebody raised is possibly an area to grow trees for the town to
The
use.
nursery, yep.
The nursery, yep. Yeah, so especially way in the back there because they do have that wooded area. So, all right, okay, that's good. Got all your opinions, and I will pass them on. But yeah, as you say, Pat, it's really going to be up to the Hansons, I think.
Yeah.
And there really isn't a legal requirement for it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it is 8:28. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn.
Motion
I'll
to
make a motion.
adjourn.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Wake up. All right, we are adjourned. So I will see you all on February 22nd. If not,
Sounds
Have a
good.
good trip.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye.